Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday. Or is it Wednesday? Hold on. What is today? Oh, today's Wednesday. I'm playing myself. Set myself a day back. Today is Wednesday, September the 20th, 2023. All right. So y'all see the title of this particular article, especially the title of this particular video. And already, I'm like Big Yehuda got quite a bit to say on this topic. You know, let's go ahead and read some of these comments that he's put up before the video actually started. But also, as you guys come in, go ahead and number one, hit that like button. That's number one. And number two, I got a poll that's in the chat. I want to see what you guys' thoughts are on this. I'm trying to see, do you guys think that blackface parodies are still offensive today? So it seems like that, and for some reason I cannot even see this whole poll. Let me see if I can shrink this a little bit. All right, here we go. All right, so 40% of you says blackface parodies are still offensive today. 20% of you said no, it's comedy, and the other 20% of you said that it depends on the context. And the poll is changing right now as people come in. So y'all take part in that. And this is only on YouTube. This isn't on Facebook, and it is not available for playback. All right. So Big Yehuda says this seems like a rather odd thing to care about. Why have an egalitarian? I'm sorry, I'm butchering that this morning. I'm still trying to wake up. Why have an egalitarians? That's what it is. Egalitarians. I don't know what's going on with me. Abortion supporters, gender ideology affirmers not being kicked out. He says, I don't know if this is inside church. If so, it should be filed under modern day church theatrics. He says, but yeah, I've seen pastors get kicked out of denominations for doing what's morally right. There's a denomination trying to kick out a pastor who opposed lockdowns and mandates. It's on EDW's site. So no context, my assessment could be totally wrong. But this seems like punishing your kid for stealing from the cookie jar, but letting him get away with taking dad's car for a joyride without a license. So yeah, we're going to be getting into a lot of this tonight. Not tonight, this morning. I got to wake up. I really got to wake up. But anyway, good morning, guys. Good morning to Spider Monkey, Atlanta since 82. Who else? Did I miss anybody? Nope. I think that's the only people that's in the chat right now that says something. All right, so let's get ready to get into this. You guys see the title. Southern Baptists expel Oklahoma church after pastor defends blackface in native caricatures. Let's see what Spider Monkey says. Well, the whole drag queen story hour have infiltrated some churches. It's like, how can the pastors of those churches allow evil in the Lord's place? Yeah, so it's a lot going on. And I mean, I want to say over the course of the past few years, the Southern Baptist Convention seemed like that they've been going through a lot of changes. They've been at the center of a lot of these what do you call it? These some of these changes that's going on in the church, especially within their church. They've been getting a lot of press, a lot of headlines. All right, let's go ahead and read this article. This article can kind of explain a heck of a lot better than what I can of what's going on. All right. Southern Baptist Convention has ousted an Oklahoma pastor an Oklahoma church whose pastor defended his blackface performance at one church event and his impersonation of a Native American woman at another. So this dude dressed up like a woman? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, who was that? Somebody just said something about drag story hour. That little bit of leaven. You know what I'm saying? We gotta be careful. The executive committee of the nation's largest Protestant denomination voted Tuesday that Matoka Baptist Church of Ochalada, quote, be deemed not in friendly cooperation with the convention, end quote, the official terminology for an expulsion. The church's pastor, Sherman Jaques, dressed in blackface for a 2017 church Valentine's Day event in which he claimed to be impersonating the late soul singer Ray Charles. Jaques wore dark facial makeup, a large afro wig, and dark sunglasses and smiled broadly as he sang a duet. Some in the crowd can be heard laughing during the video performance. And that was or that is the thumbnail picture that I have up. So yeah, this happened a couple of years ago, and I think I did see this, but I didn't really get too wrapped up in that. Atlanta Since 82 says what year? They said that happened in 2017 with the afro and the glasses and the you know black skin. The video was brought to light earlier this year by a Tulsa community activist, Mark Lewis. Another Facebook photo published by the Examiner Enterprise of Bartlesville also surfaced, showing Jaques dressed as a Native American woman at a quote Cowboys and Indians end quote night at church camp. The photo shows a man dressed as a cowboy holding an apparently fake gun to Jaques in jest, while a boy dressed as a cowboy is poised with raised fists next to him. In a Facebook post earlier this year, Lewis wrote, quote, he didn't just mimic Ray Charles, he distorted the features and culture of African Americans and also indigenous Americans with his offensive Pocahontas caricature. He is promoting the hatred that sees African Americans and indigenous Americans as not only different, but less than, end quote. How many of y'all agree with that? Now, of course, we didn't see the video. Well, I mean, maybe you guys have, but I didn't. I didn't see the video. And I mean, I'm looking at the thumbnail and I'm hearing what he's saying about, like Ray Charles, but I don't even know what the context is about, around the whole Pocahontas thing. But I don't know if he looks at them as less than. I mean, tasteless, maybe, but I don't know. My antennas go up just like Big Yehuda says, by a quote unquote activist. You know what I'm saying? So, what kind of activists are inside of a church? I don't know. I don't know. We got Child Young Cat up in the house. It says, sorry, listening, but AFK. Greetings, folks. Hello, Alton Justin. For people who don't know what AFK is, my kids taught me what AFK was. That means away from keyboard. So every chance that I get, I use that particular term because when they're like playing a game and they need to do something and they're like, like right in the middle of the game, I'm like, oh, you guys are going to be AFK for a while. Lennox Since 82 says, so 6 years later, if it wasn't an issue, then why make it an issue now? And that's what I was just about to ask. Even when I first read the article, I was like, wait, hold on, why is this surfacing later or surfacing now? Because actually, when I was looking for more articles on the issue, because I always like to try to get different perspectives, I really didn't want to do an Associated Press article. I wanted to see if maybe the Christian Post had covered it, or the Christian news website had covered this story as well, but I didn't find any. The earliest thing that I saw, or the latest thing that I saw that was covered, was something back in April. It was like I guess this was a thing back in April. So it seems like, and I think I read this before. I'm not sure if I covered this story, but I know I read this earlier this year. So, but for some reason, just like you guys say, it's coming back up, which is pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Let's get back to the article. It said Jaquez said in an interview that it's, quote, repugnant to have people think you're a racist, end quote, especially when he said he was paying tribute to Charles. Quote, if it had been done in a derogatory or hateful manner, that would be one thing. But the church was full of people. Nobody took it as a racial slur, end quote. He said, contending that people drudged up the years old post after he spoke against drag shows in Bartlesville. So now the question becomes, is this some type of agenda? Right? Because who was that who put that in there earlier? That was Atlanta since 82. Talked about wokeism. Is there some type of agenda to try to drudge this back up? I don't know. Let's go back to this poll. So, look like that there's a split between you guys in the poll right now, because I asked the question, are blackface parodies still offensive today? And 36% of you says yes, always, and another 36% of you says it depends on the context, while 27% says no, it's comedy. So I mean, this is almost split down the middle evenly. All right. So I mean, we definitely got different different ways of thought up in here. Let me see. Okay. Let's continue reading. Jaquez, who became a Christian in the Southern Baptist Church at age 13, also said that he is part Cherokee and he wasn't attempting to caricature Native people. He said the denomination reached out a few months ago about how they would send a packet, quote, where I would have to prove I wasn't a racist, end quote. Jaquez said he never received anything until Friday when notice of the pending vote and his lack of cooperation arrived. He said he called but couldn't reach anyone. Now, that might be some beef. I don't know, man. That's just. I'm not gonna lie. It seems like that is orchestrated. Now, what he did. So we'll talk about that later. Grace of Peace, Manny Jones, who says if the pastor identified as a middle-aged black female, the SBC could be sued for hate crime by today's Biden administration for firing him. LOL. But if done to commemorate a singer, it's a hate crime. I don't know. I don't know. It just seems fishy. It really just seems. It seems like there's an agenda, and I hate to say that. I don't know who's behind it. And here's the thing: I'm not saying that I don't, that I don't like the SBC or anything like that. Not saying that at all. You know, um, but again, just by reading this article, just by reading this, even when I read this yesterday, I'm like, man, it seems like it's something else going on behind the scenes. Whether or not somebody from the woke mob is putting pressure on the SBC, and that's what it could be. I don't know. That's what it could be. It could be that since the SBC has been getting so much press, and they had the whole no women pastors thing. People are probably bringing all types of stuff up now, saying that you guys are allowing racists to come to the SBC. You guys allow racism, open racism. So Now we got to start addressing that. What you guys gonna do about this quote unquote racist? This guy who dressed up as blackface. You guys don't want women preachers, but you guys are gonna turn around and have this quote unquote racist up in there performing blackface in your churches because you know people will do stuff like that. I don't know. Let's continue to read. Let's continue to read. His church, he said, may appeal the ouster to the SBC's full annual meeting next year, as it is right. Now, quote, I don't know if I want to be a part of a denomination that will make a judgment about you without even talking to you, end quote. Jacques, who said he committed his life to the ministry in the Southern Baptist churches. Quote, the only thing I see that they do well is cash my check, end quote. Shots fired. But Lewis praised the executive committee's action. Yeah, my thing is this. I mean, if you definitely have a problem with a person, the first thing you need to do, just like the Bible says, you go to that person in private. You talk to them, especially if you consider that person a brother. But don't just make a decision and then say, hey, you got X amount of time to respond. And then when a person tries to respond, you just don't say anything. You don't even respond back. I don't know. Let's continue to read this. Quote, for him, Jacques, to not apologize and double down on it, to me, it felt this is a pastor that needed to be exposed, end quote. Lewis said in an interview. Said in an interview. Quote, I'm grateful that the Southern Baptist organization said, we don't want to have anything to do with this, end quote. Blackface performances date back to minstrel shows of the 1800s in which performers darkened their faces to create bigoted caricatures of Black people. Now, I want to stop right now because I want people to understand that the Associated Press, this is a secular website, all right? So this is a secular website. This is not a Christian website. I'm just bringing this out on this particular site because I think only them, and I think it was NPR. I didn't want to read the one from NPR. Or I didn't want to cover that one because I know NPR can be quite left-leaning. You know what I'm saying? So I read this one from Associated Press, and it seemed like it's a little bit more balanced, right? So I just want to put that out there before I continue to read. Since other Baptist churches are independent, the convention can't tell a church what to do or whom to have a pastor, but it can oust a church from its membership. The SBC's constitution says a church can only be deemed in friendly cooperation if, among other things, it, quote, does not act to affirm, approve, or endorse discriminatory behavior on the basis of ethnicity, end quote. The conservative denomination in recent years expelled churches for various reasons, most prominently Saddleback Church. The California megachurch ousted earlier this year for having women pastors. You knew that was going to come up. In 2018 and 2022, the executive committee ousted a Georgia church and a New Jersey congregation amid concerns over alleged discriminatory behavior. Other reasons for ouster include a failure to address sexual abuse and for acting to, quote unquote, endorse homosexual behavior, end quote. I don't know. I wonder what church was that. Anyway, let's continue. Separately, the committee faced its third leadership setback in a matter of months when its anticipated appointment of an interim president fell through. Retired Kentucky pastor Dan Summerlin, who had been recommended by the committee's officers, withdrew his candidacy, saying Tuesday that he wouldn't have time for the job while caring for his wife during cancer treatments. The committee was meeting for the first time since its interim president, Tennessee pastor Willie McLaurin, resigned in August after it came to light that he had falsified his educational credentials on his resume. McLaurin had been the leading candidate to become the permanent president after the committee failed to approve the nomination of its former chairman, Jared Wellman, as president in May. Now, I'm just reading this. I don't know if any of this stuff is true. I don't know if it's untrue. I don't know if it's hearsay. All I know, I'm just reading it, So, I mean, I don't even have time to get into all of this. So, I just want to put that out there. And of course, like I said, this is coming from a secular news website. So, some of the stuff could be accurate, some of it could be inaccurate, you know. And I don't know. It look like they got some links to a lot of these claims. So I mean, it could be accurate, but that's besides the point. The committee said in a statement Tuesday that it had that based on an internal investigation, it concluded that quote McLaurin engaged in both academic and professional fraud end quotes. But it said no evidence was found of quote of wrongdoing or direct financial harm to the executive committee end quote. It did not elaborate. Quote, while the executive committee acknowledges the collateral, reputational harm, and indirect financial impact resulting from McLaurin's representations, the executive committee does not plan to proceed with taking any legal action against McLaurin at this time, end quote. It said. I don't know what this has to do with the article. I don't know why they're going into this. But again, this is what secular pieces do. I mean, why are you going into this thing with McLaurin? I mean, we're supposed to be talk about this pastor in blackface. Jonathan Howe, who is vice president, having serving in the interim role, will continue their role according to the committee. The job of the chief executive involves leading the day-to-day business of the committee, which acts on behalf of the convention when its national meeting is not in session. The previous permanent president, Ronnie Floyd, resigned mid turmoil after the executive committee's handling of a third party investigation into how the committee addressed sexual abuse reports. Amid tight finances, the committee recently cut 5 full time staff positions and 2 contractor positions. Associated Press Religion coverage received support through AP's collaboration with the with the Conversation US, with funding from Lilly and Endowment Incorporated. The AP is solely responsible for this content. And that is the end of this article. It's the end of this article. We're not off into the weeds a little bit at the end of this article. I don't know. I don't know why they got into, into the rest of that stuff, but I believe that they probably are doing that because they kind of want to show the problems in the Southern Baptist Convention. And I mean, I don't know. Sometimes with these secular articles, you can never tell. But besides the point, let's get into this conversation. And grace and peace, Sister Sheila Mahone. I don't know if I say grace and peace to Sister Elizabeth, but if I haven't, grace and peace. And you guys go ahead and hit that like button as you guys come in. Let's go back to this poll. I'm asking here on YouTube Live. Are blackface parodies still offensive today? 50% of you says yes. 19% of you say no, it's comedy. And 31% of you says it depends on the context. Now, again, I did not see the video in question. Any of the videos in question. The one where he did the quote-unquote Pocahontas caricature and the quote-unquote Ray Charles the quote-unquote Ray Charles impersonation. So I saw none of that. But is performing blackface parodies tasteless? Sometimes it can be. Sometimes it can be. Now, can I say honestly, just by reading the article and reading his statement, and one thing I will say, um, I guess shout out to him for standing firm on his position. I mean, he did clarify to say it was nothing racist about it. It was just a parody, you know. And then another good point that he brought up was that, yo, I did this years ago. Why are y'all bringing this up now? So, I mean, he does have 2 points in his defense. Do I think that it was something that was racially motivated? Not at all. Not at all. Because I don't even, there's nothing else in the article, especially from his detractors, that he had any racial intent. I can't remember who the Lewis guy was, but the Lewis guy that was mentioned in this particular article, I wonder is that the quote unquote activist? I think that's the quote unquote activist person. Even they kind of just threw out their own opinion, their own little anecdote, like, oh, trying to make it seem like that him performing blackface, that means that he sees black people and Native American people as less than. It's like, how do you, like, where did you get that from? I understand when we talk about blackface and back in the day, just like the article said, it was used to demean black people, you know. But I don't think that this was the case. Jazz M says, nah, this is racist. But I mean, but here's the thing: if we're Christians, right, or I would say, since we're Christians, would it be racist, equally racist, for a person, let's just say a black person, to dress themselves up and portray another race or ethnicity as a stereotype? Because I've seen black comedians do it. I've seen black comedians, quote unquote, do white caricatures. I've seen them do Native American caricatures. I've seen them do Asian caricatures. So I don't know. Is that equally racist, or you just can't do it for when it pertains to black people because of the history of blackface? You see what I'm saying? So I mean, if we're gonna be fair, and I'm talking about Christians, I'm not talking about the secular folks, because we know that the secular folks, they love weighing with uneven scales. As Christians, if we're being truthful, you know, we're supposed to be weighing with even scales. Can we do that? Spider Monkey says, I will say, in the Salvadorian store, we buy our Salvadorian products. There's this horchata brand that has a picture of what one assumes in blackface, but it's a caricature from the people in, I guess, in the country. Jasm says yes, it is just as racist for anyone to do black, white, Asians, Hispanics. But here's my take on it. Here's my take. I think that us as Christians, we have to be mindful about the parodies and the caricatures that we do. Even myself, I know that y'all have seen some of my parodies with the Conscious Cornelius guy. Um, I've also done the the other guy, Namin Yisrael, which is the Hebrew Israelite caricature, you know. But even sometimes I do have to be aware, and I have to be cognizant of what I'm saying and what I'm doing in my parodies, because although I may see some stuff funny, some people may not see it as funny, and I have to be aware of that. There's times where I've wanted to say some things and wanted to do some things, and I'm just like, I know that a lot of my Christian friends will get it, but at the same time, I still want to make sure that I'm not just um, offending anyone without context. A lot of times when I do my parodies, I want to show, I want to show kind of the hypocrisy in the stuff that a lot of these people claim. Um, and then also, I'm trying to look for a certain word, kind of like the kind of show their ignorance to certain stuff. To kind of bring that to the light. You know, but at the end of the day, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I just need to fall back on. And there's been a couple of times where I wanted to do some parodies, and I said, I know my Christian friend, majority of my Christian friends will get it, but at the same time, I was just like, nah, let me not do that. Now, I ain't gonna stop doing my parodies because of like the Hebrew Israelites and the Black country community. Of course, they're gonna find all of my stuff offensive anyway. Even me preaching the Bible is offensive to them. So, uh, those particular folks are sometimes crybabies. So I'm like, I'm not gonna stop doing any parodies, because they're gonna cry about every parody that I do. But at the same time, I still have to be aware because I really don't want to. I, I don't try to go out and offend anyone purposefully. So I just think that when it comes to this particular pastor, I think he should have used a better sense of judgment. If you know that blackface is something that really doesn't sit well with a lot of people, and you know that someone could be offended, then you probably just should have left that alone. You know, maybe you could have just threw the shades on and just act like you were Ray Charles or something. But I don't know. You know, you just got to use your better sense of judgment as a pastor. Even if you don't think that there's anything wrong with what you're doing, you still got to be aware about the people who are following you or who are part of your congregation. Atlanta since '82 says, "Come on, brother Alton, black people are the most racist group going. We get away with it by saying black people can't be racist." Yeah, and that's the thing too. We do set some unrealistic standards, and I'm talking about secular folks. And sadly enough, there are some people in the black church, the quote unquote black church, who do hold to those same sentiments. The whole quote unquote work woke church stuff. They hold to that stuff, and that's why I do not agree with a lot of the stuff that they do. You know, People of that quote unquote woke church stuff, those folks need to repent of that. Like seriously, like they hold to that black people can't be racist garbage. Chow Young Cat says, "Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on his heart." 1 Samuel 16:7. It matters why we do what we do. Things might not be as they seem. Yep, hold up a mirror. So I mean that's just my take. That's just my take on it. But you guys let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Let's go ahead and read this poll before we get up out of here. Are blackface parodies still offensive today? 50% of you, 56% of you says yes, it is always offensive. 17% of you says no, it's comedy, and 28% of you says it depends on the context. And I'm going to say that I don't think that there's no right or wrong answer when it comes to the polls. Everybody has their different view on it. But I do think that as Christians, we do got to be aware of who we may offend, even if we don't really think it's that big of a deal. You know, I mean, I would just say still be aware of it, and then at the same time too, we can't always just be a bunch of crybabies following the woke mob being offended over every single thing. And especially when we're drudging up stuff from years ago. If something is an issue today, you deal with it today. You don't wait till years later, 5 or 6 years later, and then you want to, oh, well, hey, remember when you did this 5 or 6 years ago, but you said nothing back then. We also got to start being honest in that aspect as well. But anyway, as we get ready to get up out of here, do like my sister Sheila Mahone says, because she got a wrench. All right, she got a wrench. She said, hit that like button, please. She's asking nicely this morning. Usually she's not that nice. She's being nice this morning. So hit that like button, please. And listen, y'all go ahead and keep this conversation going in the comments section. Let me know what y'all think. Especially when it comes to this area of blackface. But listen, as always, you guys hit that like button, rate this video, share it, subscribe, hit that notifications bell if you guys have not done it yet. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. And you guys have a blessed day, Lord willing.